In the meantime, a bit of a scramble involving the Department of Energy, as the Trump administration is now looking to reinstate employees of the National Nuclear Security Administration just days after terminating them amid the ongoing purge of the federal government. The layoffs that hit the NNSA, which is an agency within the Energy Department that manages the nation's nuclear weapons stockpile, was part of a larger effort by the Trump administration to scuttle probationary federal employees, those who typically have not been on the job for very long. So here for a closer look at all of this is energy and environment reporter with our partners at thehill.com, Rachel Frazin. Rachel, thank you so much for your time. All right, so as of Friday, the Nuclear Security Administration has tried to rehire some of these fired employees, some of them. What is the latest on that as of today, as of Monday?
It seems that, they think that they made a mistake, right? They let go probationary employees, I guess, either not realizing that these folks work on nuclear issues or not realizing that they let them go. And they're saying, hey, we'd love for you to come back. But there are also some reports that are indicating that they are not able to get in contact with all those folks, that they don't know exactly who they let go or how to reach them. So that seems to be the latest snafu.
All right, so talk about, Rachel, why some of these people were almost immediately being called back. Was there a problem? Is there concerns of a possible emergency?
I've not heard anything about any sort of emergency. It seems, though, that there's a common misconception about the Department of Energy at large. A lot of people think it does primarily energy work, and it does do some, but it also has a large defense and nuclear weapons mission. It sort of came out of the Manhattan Project, and I think a lot of people just don't realize that that's what that agency does. And I would think that in general, the Trump administration and Republicans do not want to necessarily let those workers go. So I would think that that's probably what happened here.
And I'd like to focus in on something that you said there, the fact that it was difficult, or it has been difficult, to get in touch with some of these terminated workers. Kind of explain the ins and outs there.
Sure. To be honest with you, I am not 100% sure what exactly is going on there. It seems that they let folks go and maybe they didn't save their contact information, or maybe, the political people don't necessarily have that information. I'm not really sure what's going on.
So for whatever reason, they are unable to get in touch with these people. Is this a potential sign, Rachel, of things to come when it comes to some of these drastic and very fast-moving actions by the Trump administration?
Sure, they are laying off or firing thousands of people. And, I'm not sure the level of review that each individual firing got. It seems like just in the time period, it would have been really, really difficult to sort of evaluate every single employee that they're letting go of. So I've not heard of any, other recalls at other agencies, but I certainly wouldn't say it's out of the question.
All right, and I do want to ask you a little bit about what we just heard from Joe Khalil there, this announcement from the transportation secretary that Elon Musk's SpaceX team is going to be visiting the air traffic control command center there in Virginia. We know that the former transportation secretary has responded on X. He says that the flying public needs answers. How many personnel were fired? Which positions? Why? Rachel, what are lawmakers, saying about the visit, about the firings, if anything? Kind of what is just some of the back and forth that you're hearing?
I think a lot of lawmakers, especially on the Democrat side, are very upset by just firings across the board. They say that government employees are essential and they do important work. However, there are a lot of Republicans and a lot of folks within the GOP who are very loyal to President Trump and are willing to back him on this.
All right, well, we will certainly see what happens. From our partners at thehill.com, Rachel Frazin, thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.